viewpoint on it. One of the things that makes it so difficult for us as a human community right now to talk about what is AI, what is intelligence, is the absolute, I would say, cultural suppression of legitimate research in parapsychology that has provided experimental evidence for non-local consciousness. And it's not much different from what you were just saying about, I get nervous or I have a reaction to something emotionally and I get a rash. Well, we see this in the field of neuroplasticity, that actually the neural pathways through which electrical charges travel in the brain will change based on a sustained thought, whatever thought is. And yet, as elementary as that field is, neuroplasticity, I mean, we're just using brain scans to compare before and after. That's all it is. This and parapsychology is not much different. We've had the Zener cards experiments in DSP since the 1930s. They're bulletproof mathematically and methodologically, but the incapacity of our popular culture, entertainment, media, social sciences, when I say entertainment, I mean talk shows and things like that, to accept this makes it impossible for us to consider non-localism as a defining trait of intelligence. So when we're discussing AI, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're talking about systems that are built first on us, on the ways that we think. There is no denying that large language models are built on back propagation that were, sort of invented based on how the brain works. And in some ways, the brain is a machine, is mechanical, does make decisions in the present based on the past to survive the future. That is one thing that it does do, but it also does all of these other things. It also can have, quite non-ordinary experiences, whether it's precognitive experiences, whether it's, psychedelic experiences. There's a whole, a range of experiences that happen that aren't one for one what you're experiencing outside of reality. I also think, again, it goes back to the popularity of the computational model and that sort of being taken as doctrine. I also think we fall prey to this thing where if you look at the history of technology in the West, we have used throughout, at least, kind of as far back as you can remember, we've used the highest point of technology in any given day to talk about the universe and to talk about the brain.
Right. The steam engine.
The steam engine.
Pinnacle, yeah.
If you go back to the 14th century, the universe was grand clockwork. Freud developed his hydraulic model of psyche at the same time that the steam engine, is invented. If you look back, even David Bohm, someone I really love, the holographic theory is written in the 80s when holograms are very popular. And now, of course, reality is a computer. And the brain's a computer. And there is this hermeneutical way that we read reality through technology and through metaphor that impacts in very real ways reality itself, not only the way that we think about it. Oh, I'm thinking of another one. Axons in the brain, we figured out what they do based on telephone wires. We thought about telephone wires first, and then that's how we started investigating the brain. So there is this real play where, people are trying to kind of separate something that's not separate to begin with, and have them